Or today's a good day if you're a Waffles viewer, because we got a lot to talk about finally. Now that I'm actually doing something. So I've noticed when I'm writing documentation, right, that a lot of stuff is missing, and it's like simple stuff. Like it's just missing like how to configure one specific thing, or it's troubleshooting one specific thing. And I find myself with a lot of man pages, a lot of Reddit threads, and a lot of forum posts up on my monitor. And what's important about that, right, is a lot of this information is stuck on other websites. So like you have to Google what your issue is, and then you have to find it in a forum, and then you finally figure out what you're doing because it wasn't written in the documentation. So if you are a wiki editor, one of the best things you can do is if you're trying to figure out something and you have to go to a forum to find it, take that information from the forum and add it to the wiki if it works for you. Because like there's so much stuff where you can avoid having to look up on various Reddit threads to figure out what your issue is or what you want to do. So I always try to have the information I'm looking for on the wiki I'm editing. So like that's mostly what I use the Gen 2 wiki for is I'm like the first person to have eyes on something in a while. I need to follow my own set of instructions to do something, and I'm like, oh, you know what? Somebody else would find this useful. Where you have to duplicate a lot of work. You can tell somebody how to do the thing. So whenever I find myself on a forum thread and using a fix from a forum, or if somebody has to tell me on Discord or something, I take that information and I write a section in the wiki about it, and that makes the wiki better. It makes the instructions better. It makes the documentation better. So that way, the next person who comes looking for it is like, "Oh, look at that! It's already in the wiki for me. I don't have to go anywhere else." And that's really what I try to do when I'm editing documentation. Is if I have to go somewhere else to find something, that's too much. That's too much work. So I take that information, I put it where, in my own personal documentation. And that's one thing that I really aim for especially if you're looking to like contribute to Gen 2, one of the best things to do is just learn how the wiki works. Because it's pretty easy. I think I've learned most of the little tips and tricks that I need to know. And I like writing pages, because it gives me the information I want, and other people can use that information. So it's a really cool project. It's like you don't have to be a programmer to do it or anything. You can just install packages and see what needs to be done. And that's one of the best ways to find packages that need to be written on actually is you go one of the ones I did my first projects was I needed Simple Scanner, and I was like, "Hey, why I've compiled the program with Pixma, so it works with my Canon scanner, but I'm not getting any results for scanners because I'm using a wireless one." Then I found it on an OpenSUSE thread of all things where it said, "Oh, add your user to the LP and USB groups," and that wasn't anywhere on the wiki. It didn't tell you to do that anywhere. So I was like, "Oh, I'll just add that in as a section." And lo and behold, now that information that was on the OpenSUSE forums is now on the Gentoo wiki, which is cool, you know. And I don't really treat it like the Arch wiki, where the Arch wiki gives you like a detailed explanation of how to do everything you could possibly want to do in an application. I don't have that much of a goal. I just I see like basic configuration. Like the most recent edit I did was I've been configuring Hyperland, and it's actually still kind of buggy. I found I had trouble with this recording. I had to restart my session. I don't know why, but basically I wrote a section because there was no documentation on screenshotting. And I was like, oh well, there are different screenshotting tools you can use, like Grim and Slurp or whatever, but uh, Hyperland made their own called Hypershot, and Hyperland had their own documentation, surprisingly, on a Reddit thread. And I was like, oh, let me just take that information and put it in here, and that way I don't need to like go looking around other documentation, basic thing. So, anyways, that's something that I've that I kind of make a goal is if the wiki can give me all the information I need to do what I need to do, that makes it a better wiki, you know? So if you're interested in that kind of thing, whether you want to do the Arch wiki or the Gentoo wiki or whatever you want to do, there's a wiki out there for you. I think All Things Linux has their own wiki now too, and I'm not really sure about it, but it's a cool thing to do. You know, it's become a little hobby of mine, editing the wiki pages, so it's really cool. Um, you know, if you want to get involved, you know, that's a good thing to get involved with. Is just write information for people to read. Super easy, and once you're done with it, you get a little collection of stuff you can say that you've written. So that's cool. All right, thanks.